Hello everyone and welcome to this month's Pinterest. This is Becky from Adult Services, and this month we are going to be making fall tiled planters. So basically what we're going to be doing is we're going to be taking these supplies, if it's centered under there, and we are going to turn them into this beautifulness. So in your kits, you all should have gotten 4 tiles, some scrapbooking patterned paper, and then just a list of a few other things that you'll need for the project. I have already, if you've kind of taken a look, put together a few of my tiles. All I did was put the paper on first, and then I painted around the edges of it just because I didn't like the white with the paper that I had. You're going to have a lot of creative freedom with this project. So if you don't want to use the paper, you don't have to. If you have some like paint pens at home and you want to actually make patterns on the tiles like these, go right ahead. It'll probably look pretty awesome. We would love to see pictures when you are done, especially if you do try a different style than what we're going to go through in the video. And that is going to be to reference at Shorewood-Troy or programs at Shorewood-Troy. So to get started, what we're going to do is I have my blank tile here. So I'm going to show you the method that I used to put the paper onto these tiles here. And that was, so in the kit, your paper should be about this big. And then what I need to do is I need to trim it down to be about this big. Size comparison there for you. So first things first, I'm going to lay my paper down with the pattern on the table so that I'm not going to draw over the pattern. And then I'm just going to place my tile on there so that I can see about how big it's going to be. And I'm just going to make a mark with a pencil. Before I get too much further, you'll probably want a pencil, possibly a ruler. You're going to need some paint or paint pens. Unless you want a white planter, then you don't need to paint anything. You will also need some glue. Strong glue is preferred. This is the glue that I'm using for this project. It's a really sturdy crafting glue that you can get at craft stores. Hot glue, it will work, but only temporarily. If you use hot glue on this project, because of the tiles and the fact that they're ceramic, it's gonna fall back apart on you. If you just want it to hold together for like a day, you're probably good. But if you want it to last for you, you're gonna want something stronger when it comes to glue. So this would work, super glue would work, anything that you typically use that can really hold something together. So back to our tile. I am just gonna mark on the edge there, just so that I know how big. And then I'm actually gonna take my ruler and I'm gonna go in a little bit past that mark, just because I don't want the paper to overlap my edges. If you want the paper around the full square, go right ahead and mark all the way to where that pencil mark was. And then when you use the Mod Podge, you're gonna go ahead and do all of the corners as well so that you have that paper going around the whole square. Mine, I liked how it was centered like these tiles, so I am going to go ahead and do a little bit from that mark, and then I will show you. So here was my original mark. I'm going to go a little bit inside of that, and I'm going to do the same thing over here. Actually, that looks a little wobbly. And this is why we are doing it on the back of the paper, so that you can make more than one mark and it's not going to matter. There we go. That looks pretty good to me. You're also going to need some scissors to cut that out. So I am going to skip the cutting step, save you guys a little bit of time. I already have my smaller piece here. So from this point, what we're going to do is I am going to use Mod Podge, and I am going to put some on the tile itself and then also on the back of the paper. And then we will fit it to the square. And you'll see this one, the way that I cut it is so that it fits just inside that square. It's not going to have big white lines around it. It's going to take up most of it, but it's not overlapping onto the side here. So, I'm going to go ahead and take care of that. If you want a different background, you can paint first at this step, and actually maybe I'll do that first. With these, I put the paper down first, and then I painted over it, giving it kind of a rough painted edge. With the pattern that was on the paper, I thought kind of rough and scratchy kind of mixed well with it. So this one's got more of kind of like a delicate pattern to it, so I think I'll paint the tile first. So for that, I have got my paint here. It's just acrylic paint. If you have something that works really well on ceramics, feel free to use that. You are probably, unless you want scratches in your planter, going to want to then do another layer of the Mod Podge over all of the painting that you do. Otherwise, since it is a ceramic tile, it's very likely that it can like just chip off if you bump it into something. So just gonna paint this real quick. And it might need more than one coat, but that's fine. Acrylic paint dries really, really quick. Which you guys, if you've been doing any of these other virtual programs, have probably heard me say before. I really like using acrylic paint because it dries so quickly. And because it's just easy to use and it's pretty inexpensive. And you'll notice it is very thin on here. I'm okay with that. I like a nice thin coat. If you want it darker, you can always paint multiple coats. That is just fine. You'll just wait for this one to dry and then you'll do another one. And if you haven't already checked out, we've got some fun, crafty programs going on besides Pinterest. This month, let's see, we've already gone through, so every month we also have family craft. So if your whole family is crafty, that's a great one to get involved in. That is the second Thursday of every month. Let's see, and the next one coming up, we're going to do a fun little project with family handprints and fingerprints to do like this like thankful for family craft. It's really cute. Check it out on the website if your family is crafty and you want to get in on that. So I'm going to let this dry real quick. And then I am going to rinse out my brush. Just have some water here. And then some other, I was in the middle of talking about crafty programs. So not a crafty program, but we have something awesome coming up at the end of October. It's going to talk about the old Joliet prison, Haunted Joliet. It's a book here. We're going to have, the author is going to speak about it. Really excited for that. So remember to check the website if you're into kind of creepy, spooky things. It is October. That'll be on our event calendar. We also have a display of it when you walk into the library if you want to check that out. Well, we've got the flyer there, and then all around that we've got some fun books for adults and teens that we've put into kind of like goodie kits. They're called our Booktacular Reads, so that's another fun one to check out. Okay, so now I am going to Mod Podge this over the green. Not sure if I really like that combination, but we're gonna go for it. Just open the Mod Podge here. It's glued shut. There we go. All right. that on here. And actually, this can's just about empty, so I'm just going to go straight from the can on this one. Okay. Let's see. Don't think that's quite dry, so I'm going to do the paper first. So we're just going to get a good amount. Try to move this over so that you can see it. I'm making a little bit of a mess here. We're going to get the Mod Podge all on the back of the paper. And it's okay to use too much. This is going to dry clear. And it will look just fine. It's also okay if you feel like you don't have quite enough on it, because we're going to go over the front of the paper as well. This isn't quite dry yet. Actually, it is pretty dry. Kind of took a risk with that, but we're good. And we're just going to get it all over the tile here. Okay. And then I'm going to take the paper. And I am going to lay that on the tile. Oh, anyways, I'm getting a centered view. Here we go. So I just laid that right on the tile. Try to smooth it out. All right, and then from here, and you'll see this covered up most of my green. The green's going to be more for just kind of like the edge pop of color. So let me get a little bit too much on my brush there. Okay, so remember this is going to dry clear, so we're okay to really kind of glob it on there. And I actually am really liking the fact that my paint wasn't completely dry, because that means it's going to streak through the paper, which I am excited about. I think it's going to make it more cohesive because of how bright my green was. If you do not want to do this, make sure that your tile is completely dry before you start smearing your Mod Podge across it. I like kind of vintagey looks on things, so, you know, some scratch marks, some smeared paint, makes it look a little used and loved. Actually, I might even grab a tiny bit of my paint here. Might have been a bit too much. Okay. So once you have your tile painted, coated, you're going to let that dry completely. Like I mentioned before, I have an entire set that I did in colors that I think I chose better with. And what we're going to do now that they're dry is the biggest part of this project, which is gluing them together. So I'm just going to put some paper towels underneath, just so that I don't glue them to the table. I'm going to flip this over. The other one's here. I'm going to take that strong glue that I mentioned before. And then I am going to place some right along the edge of my tile here. I'm going to do both edges because we're going to have two. Then I'm going to put that together. And then I'm going to put this side on the other. Go. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this tile that I did with the first one. Is I'm going to go down along both edges, because you're going to notice, and let me move the camera over a little bit here. You're going to notice you're going to have two basically inside pieces. So these are going to fall inside these two. And then you're going to have the two outside pieces. If you want, you can try to align them so that it's kind of like alternating, but this is the way that the instructions had showed it, that I followed online. And so this is the way that I know it will hold together. If you want to try a different pattern when it comes to gluing, please feel free. Whoop. I just want to make sure that I instruct you how I know it will hold together. Ooh, and I hit a paint glob. That's okay. I'll clean that up as soon as I'm done with this one. All right. So make sure I'm go along my sides here. And that side there. Oh, and there it goes again. This is why I use the paper towel. So that if it fell over, it would have somewhere to go. And we didn't get glue on the table that way. All right. Once we have our edges where we want them, I'm gonna wrap a quick rubber band around mine just to secure it together so that it doesn't fall over. If you have like boxes or something that you want to prop it up with, however you feel that it's going to hold together, because this glue isn't quick drying like hot glue is, unfortunately. But it's stronger than hot glue is, and that's the benefit of it. So I'm going to leave this to dry. We'll come back to it, and we will get our next step, which will be putting the bottom in, and we will go from there. Okay, so we are back. Our tiles have dried. You can see I can pick it up and spin it around. And it all dried clear. I don't know if you can get a good kind of zoom in of it. So now that we have our outside, our base to our planter, we are going to get the inside put together. This is where that 2-liter bottle is going to come into play. So I just cut my bottle in half to start with. Once you have it cut in half, you're going to want to, well, I would like to take off this paper part. Don't want or need that. And then I am going to, get a good picture here. You're going to kind of angle it and just kind of work it into your tiles there. And again, this is why we need that stronger glue, because we're going to be kind of pushing against it a little bit. So once that's done, I am going to trim my top here. Just go along with my pair of scissors and trim up the top. If you want, you can always mark this and then take it back out. And actually, since I started cutting, I think that's what I'm going to do. So I'm just going to cut a little bit lower than what I had here. We're just going to trim that up because I want it to fall into the planter. I don't want it overlapping. Oh, and actually, I'm starting to cut a little too. Okay, does that look? And you can always just hold it up next to it, make sure. Yeah, it looks like we should be good there. I'll trim this a little bit more. Now I'll put it back in one more time. Make sure we fit in there. Perfect. Now what we're going to do is we just want to make sure that it really holds in place. We don't want it popping out. If you want and you have a planter that will actually fit inside of the tiles, you can skip this step. This is just if you wanted to actually plant something within the tiles, or if you wanted to like fill it with something. I actually have some like filler rock and some fake floral that I'm going to put into this one. So that's what this step is for. If you want to just put a small pot that you buy, like if you've got a really full like tiny little mum plant or some other fun fall thing, you can just slip that right into the tiles, and this can just be your decorative like outside container. Or you can do this part and then put it in there, and then you also have that clear plastic base at the bottom to catch any extra water or things like that. So now that that's in there, you can either use the glue that we were using, the E6000 stuff. That would be great. That's going to make sure that it adheres to the tiles. Since I'm not doing a real plant, and I want to be able to pop this out because I think I might, when I get home, put a different pot into it, I'm just going to use some hot glue. The hot glue, because this is a plastic soda bottle, it is going to kind of melt it on there, so it'll still adhere pretty well, but you should still be able to like pry it off if you ever want to change your mind with it. Again, totally just use the same one. I don't want to make things more complicated for you guys. So whatever glue you were using for the tiles, just use it on your clear planter part here. So I am just going to throw a little bit on each of those sides so that we can secure it. And then I am just going to drop it down on in here. There we go. And then just press the sides. Got that in there good so that it adheres to it. All right, perfect. Bottle is still a little wet from when I rinsed it out. Dab that up real quick. Get the little bits that are on the table here. All right. So, from this point, what you're going to want to do, let me get some of this garbage out of the way here. From here, this is when you're going to want to start thinking about adding your pot, and if you want to add any other decorations to the outside of your planter. So if you wanted like a nice ribbon to run around here, sorry, I can't see it on the camera. If you wanted a nice ribbon to run around here, or if you wanted like a bunch of twine, maybe some like floral around the planter, or you wanted to paint something on it, this would be the perfect time to do that because we're in the finishing stages of it. So what I am going to do now, if you are planting an actual plant, you're going to want to make sure that you have a little bit of drainage. So you have two options. If you have another soda bottle, you can cut another bottom out and then put a couple of holes in this and put the other bottom beneath it. You won't glue it or anything. That's just going to be there to catch extra water, a place basically so that you can drain it. Or the easier, much easier option is just throw a few small rocks at the bottom of the container. That's going to keep your plant from sitting in extra water if you accidentally overwater it. If you are not using real plants, then you can fill this up however you would like. I am going to use some rocks that we have here. So I'm just going to open up this bag real quick. And then I am going to pour those in here. There we go. Alright, so now I've got those rocks. Gives me some nice filler. I could probably do with a few more, but I'm going to go ahead and just add my floral that I had here too. I went with white just because it matched the inside. That way I wouldn't have to paint it. Do whatever you would like. This is where you get to use all that creative freedom. Make it your own. Have fun with it. So now, off to the side here, actually I will go ahead and swap. I have just some fake floral that I am just going to cut apart and start plopping into my little dish there. Oh, and it looks like that wire's a little thicker than I anticipated. That's okay. And I'm only going to do a few just to kind of give you guys the idea. Oh, actually, these are pretty bulky. I might have enough to really fill it out to show you guys a finished project. Regardless, a picture of the finished project is going to be at the end of the video. There we go. All right, let's see if this will fill it up enough. Move a little bit of the rocks out of the way so I can tuck this in there. Go. Okay, get another one. Put it in here. There we go. Yeah, I'm gonna need to do some more here. Just put this one down in here as I'm shaking the video camera. Actually, I'm gonna trim this one down a bit. Let's see. There we go. That's a little bit shorter. Get some of these smaller pieces up in here. There we go. And I'm gonna fill this in just so that it's, you know, nice and full. I've got my nice print around the sides of it, and then maybe I'll like finish it off with a little like burlap lace or some twine or something. But this is the gist of it. It's a pretty simple project. It's basically paint, stick, glue, and you've got a nice little planter to add to the centerpiece of your dinner table, to a little balcony or front porch, and have fun with it. If you are going to put it outside, spray it with just a clear coat just to protect it from, you know, sun, rain, things like that. And if you did paint the tiles, just remember to either use Podge or a clear coat over that. Again, just so that it doesn't scratch or chip, because it is the material of the tile. It's easy to scratch the acrylic paint off of that.